Welcome to Houston Climate Week. I'm Peter Kelly Detweiler, Director of Educational Programs at Smart Energy Decisions. And today we're talking about how green buildings can drive the energy transition. And I'm super pleased to have three great panelists with us today. First, we have Charlene Hadinger, President of the Texas PACE Authority, and then Catherine McAden from Google, Head of Public Policy and External Affairs, South. And then from Engie North America, Jean-Baptiste Dubroy, VP and Head of New Business Development. So if we can start with you, Charlene, I'd like each one of you to introduce yourselves for 2 or 3 minutes and talk about what you do and how that relates to the Climate Action Plan and climate in general. So we'll make you the first one to start.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charlene Hadinger. I'm the President of the Texas PACE Authority, and I'm delighted to be here. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that administers the City of Houston's PACE program, Property Assessed Clean Energy. We're so proud to be a part of the city's climate effort and look forward to continuing to support the city, but also helping all of Houston's companies and nonprofits make their properties more energy and water efficient. We do that through a program that allows businesses to work with private lenders, contractors, engineers, architects, and utilize this program to finance upgrades to their property to make it more energy and water efficient. The financing goes on over extended periods of time, which enables the savings from these projects to pay for the projects. And so far in Houston, we've done 5 projects totaling $27 million. The largest, almost 22 million, the smallest, 137,000. We look forward to working with everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. And I understand that there are PACE programs across the country. Is that right?
That is correct. 37 states have these commercial PACE programs.
Okay, and a little bird told me, I actually saw this online, that you recently received a National PACE Champion Award from PACE Nation. So I just want to congratulate and embarrass you at the same time by calling that out. Congratulations, that's really wonderful.
Thank you. This is a collaborative effort involving hundreds of people and hundreds of hours of volunteer time. And I'm happy to be a cheerleader for the program, but this award belongs to many, many people in Texas. Thanks, Peter.
Nobody gets it all done by themselves, do they?
No, never.
AB, if I can transition over to you, and if you could explain a little bit what you're doing within Engie and how that also ties into the Climate Action Plan.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. So Jean-Baptiste Dubroy. I'm working for Engie, so world leader in zero carbon transition. So we are headquartered in Houston. We have a strong root here in Texas. Just to give a few examples, we are a partner of Greentown Labs. And we also signed in 2017 a 50 megawatt PPA, green PPA, solar PPA with the city of Houston. So we are glad to be part of this Climate Change Week. And regarding Engie, so we really want to accelerate the transition towards a carbon neutral world through reduced energy consumption and more environmentally friendly solution. And so that's really the right place to be today to discuss building optimization. And as you know, I would just give you maybe two information. 40% of the state total energy usage is related to buildings, commercial and residential building, but that's huge. And out of this 40% total energy usage, 70% of is coming from electricity. So really building optimization is part of the strategy of Engie to accompany, to help our customers, cities, communities to help reduce their energy consumption in a more environmental friendly way.
Thank you. I look forward to following up with you on that as we go through the conversation, find out more about the products and the solutions you offer to your customers. Catherine, can you kindly give us a few words about what you're working on at Google and how that ties in?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Peter. And first of all, congratulations to the City of Houston. This is a huge week. We're so excited to be part of it, and I'm honored to be on this panel with people who know a lot more than I do. but I'm excited to talk about what I do know. So Google has been in Texas for about 13 years. We have 1,500 employees here, and we're working through various ends of our operation through cloud enterprise sales, launched in Houston this year. We're very excited to digitally transform and work with local entities and businesses to, like I said, digitally transform, innovate, bring some of the tools that we've used internally, open source it, and share those with communities. We've had some really exciting opportunities I will talk about later with the city of Houston recently in solar rooftop panels, but then also we're working with private entities, governments, and everyone else in response to COVID and a number of activities. We have feelers everywhere, but I can't tell you how excited we are to be part of the Texas community.
Thank you. So Charlene, we'll take it back to you. So you mentioned that PACE essentially allows for financing by tying that to the property. Can you talk about what the log jams were that approach is trying to break, and why it tends to be a more of a lubricating function in terms of bringing money into the space than we had seen before? What does it do, and then why did people in Houston support it?
I love your vocabulary, because lubrication is not a term I've thought of before, but it really is a good fit. So any company that owns property needs to care for that property, but it's trying to run a business and it's trying to profit. There are two ways to increase profits. One is to sell more stuff and services, and the other is to reduce costs. It's really hard to pull core capital out of your business to fix the property you already own. So replacing an HVAC system is a great example of what we're talking about. So many businesses have huge repair costs, and they suffer with higher energy costs because they've got very inefficient systems that are duct taped together. And it's not until they can't find parts anymore that they're forced to replace it. PACE addresses two issues that cause that deferred maintenance. Number one, the equipment is really expensive. And number two, the return on investment, this equipment will break even, but not for years. So these improvements have very long ROI. So when anybody in a facilities staff takes these budget requests to the CFO, they almost get laughed out of the room, right? Our investors expect a return on investment in 18 months or less. So somebody that walks into a budget meeting with 8 or 9 things on their list might get the first 1 or 2 with short ROI, but anything that's not going to break even for years just gets pushed off into the next budget. PACE says, wait a minute, here is a new tool. Houston was very early to adopt this program for its businesses and nonprofits. The statute was passed in 2013. And Houston was very quick after that to create this program so that businesses can borrow money from private lenders. The city doesn't provide the funding. In fact, this costs the city $0, so no taxpayer dollars are required. It's a tool that enables the property owner to borrow money over a long period of time. It's 100% upfront financing. And the projects will not qualify unless over the term of that financing, the projects pay for themselves. In other words, the savings exceed the cost. And so no company or nonprofit needs to pull core capital away from its mission to pay for these. So they pay for themselves, and it frees up the business to continue doing what it's supposed to be doing. But guess what? The costs have gone down. So operational income is up. They can hire more people. The tenants are going to be happier. The systems work. The buildings are more attractive. And as everybody knows, Houston is a big place with lots of people needing multifamily housing and office space, et cetera. And this forward thinking on behalf of the city not only meets its climate plan initiatives and goals, but it's also going to help the city recover recover and prepare for the post-COVID world. A lot of changes are going to happen in real estate as we go forward, and this program is going to enable a huge source of financing as we repurpose buildings for a higher and greater use in the future, to be prepared for those uses in a very efficient, long-term saving way.
It sounds like it's a critical tool for maintaining some kind of strategic flexibility in the face of an uncertain future.
That's exactly right. So we can talk about COVID. The other benefit to this program is resiliency. As people upgrade their properties to make them more energy and water efficient or to create power on site, a lot of these technologies also make those buildings stronger and give more control for unexpected weather events or other events that affect our ability to access power and water.
Thank you. JB, NG has been, in recent years, making a pretty strong pivot towards the sustainability space in terms of its approach to its customers. You mentioned before the PPA, but then also in the retail space, among other things, that really fascinating public-private partnership you have with Ohio State University, 50-year project. That really raised a lot of eyebrows in terms of people looking at that saying, wow, didn't even know something like that was possible. And certainly that's outside of the box thinking. What's involved in those types of projects, and how do you think about the built space and how it actually interacts with the energy bill and how you help your customers with that? Can you just give us a general background of what that conversation is like within NG right now?
Yes, thank you, Peter. So, well, you know, so the idea is really to help our customers to focus on their core business. And when you speak, for example, about OSU, Ohio State University, their core mission is education and research. And so if they want to invest into new equipment to have a campus which is carbon free by 2050, they have two hurdles. The first one, and I think that excellent summary from Charlene, is really financing. How can I finance? I'm a university. I want to put my capital on research, on academic collaboration, on education. Energy is not my, I want to really to focus my investment on my core capabilities. Second hurdle is really capabilities. So you need a university, they don't have the knowledge or capabilities to implement new projects that will help them to drive some sustainability mission and project. And so really the idea for us when we are working with hospitals or university or cities is to help them to go towards to achieve their goal, helping them eventually on the financing, but more especially on the the capabilities. And what we are bringing is really a suite of solutions about energy audit, energy efficiency, implementation, guaranteeing. And I think it's really important when we discuss with space is that the cost savings needs to repair for the initial investment. And at NG, we are guaranteeing the performance of the equipment. We are guaranteeing availabilities, and we can guarantee, for example, what space is asking, meaning that we need to repay the investment through energy savings. So I think, for example, on OSU, we are committed to invest $250 million and to reduce the energy usage intensity by 25% within 10 years on the campus, made of 485 buildings. So that's a huge mission. You can imagine like it's really like a city. And to do that, I think there are three ways. The first one is 3 steps. First one, you need to know what are the consumption. You need to understand what is your building energy consumption. So you need to have data, and I think digitalization is really part of this effort to get understanding of what is my building energy consumption. So we put in place sensor and metering. Then the second part will be really having the capabilities internally to implement new projects, what we call energy conservation measure project. Can be street lighting, it can be cogeneration, can be new HVAC solution that will be connected with a digital tool that will help to really quickly meet the demand of the building, and that's really important. And the last point that I would like to mention that we don't speak a lot is behavior. We are all working in the building or at home, and we have something that we can play to optimize the building. And so to bring behavior, to bring people, to let them know how to, that you need to switch off your lights, you need to switch your temperature to the right level, is also something we try to push through apps. We have an apps on the OSU campus to give the students some tips on the energy conservation measures. So I think that covers what ENGIE can do, and we bring a lot of people in this mission. So we are now 6,500 employees at ENGIE North America, and this building optimization, we need people, we need engineers, we need operators, we need facility managers to get to this mission.
Thank you. So you mentioned the data piece, and when it comes to energy and gas consumption, that's about how much, when, and where, with which equipment. So that sounds like a huge data play.
Yeah, correct. Yes. We are using more and more data. We have machine learning now using historical, empiric data, benchmarking data to be able to predict the consumption 24 hours ahead, or to really do an energy audit without even going to the building. Today, you have information that are available from Google and from various platforms that help us to understand the behavior, because today we speak about behavior of a building and towards energy consumption.
Thank you. Catherine, I gotta throw you the softball. JB mentions data. There's somebody on this panel whose company has a little bit to do with data. So can you kindly discuss a little bit about the Environmental Insights Explorer and just in general, Google's approach to data? Because there's just so much going on there right now. And especially with respect to Houston. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Peter. Yeah, that's a really good point. I will point out that most of our partners own their data. We're simply the facilitator of it.
Right.
But I think from a sustainability point, there's some really exciting news that we just came out with talking about City of Houston. And I'll back up a little bit. On Monday, our CEO Sundar announced our own corporate sustainability goals for the next decade. Among them is a very ambitious goal to operate 24/7 on carbon-free energy in all of our data centers and campuses worldwide. It's a huge task, huge opportunity. We are currently already producing or partnering with enough renewable sources to counter our current energy uses, and our data centers are already 100% renewable, but expanding that so that we're currently operating 24/7 on only carbon-free sources is a huge goal for us. We recognize the importance on a global scale, obviously, and that's why we are the largest corporate buyer of renewable energy. But it's not enough for us to do it. We want to help everyone else do it. And sort of that's part of our mantra. We always put the users first. What does the community need? What does the world need? How can our services be of help? So one thing that we did very, very exciting is we launched a program, and for all the people who are watching out there, I know you're multitasking, so go ahead and Google this, pull it up. It's a really cool tech, really cool system. Google Environmental Insights Explorer. This is a program that was launched with our Geo and Maps team that through our satellite system can survey rooftop panels or rooftop ability or space within any number of areas. We've already partnered with about 100 cities. City of Houston is a very leading partner on that. We are so thrilled to partner with the city, Mayor Turner, and the entire office. And we helped give them access to information so that they can fully identify their solar potential, which, if you're on the site now Googling Environmental Insights Explorer, 94 million square meters of rooftop space in the city of Houston alone. That's considering, that's sort of geomapped, considering flat panels, cardinal directions. Is it north, south, east, west facing panels? Are there inhibitors? Like, is the size too small to hold 4 consecutive rooftop panels? Are there shade? Are there trees? Is there a chimney? That sort of thing. All factors considered. So the total rooftops, there are 500,000 roofs that could potentially house solar panels to offset some of the carbon emissions coming from the city. So when they saw that available data, they were able to make informed decisions to set realistic goals. So we're thrilled to see that the City of Houston's goals in their climate plan considered some of the avenues from Google Insights Explorer to attribute 5 million megawatts of local solar by 2050. And quantifying that number, you could throw out a number anywhere, but if it's not quantifiable and accessible with data, you're not going to be able to realistically achieve that goal. So we're thrilled about that opportunity. But we're not stopping there. Also announced on Monday, we're expanding beyond 100 cities. We're expanding to 3,000 cities worldwide. So you can Google any number of cities under that Environmental Insights Explorer and learn opportunities that are really pretty amazing to see. One of the stats, the foundation in expanding the reach of that for this Explorer, not only is it a publicly available free tool that anybody can use and see, but in our estimates, cities contribute to 70% of the worldwide CO2 emissions. If we can identify those offsets, if we can identify renewable opportunities to combine into the energy mix, we can really make some progress. So we're thrilled about that opportunity, and we have a lot of work ahead of us.
So delivering the energy right to the load centers where it's needed, that's pretty interesting stuff. And I have to imagine that's translated into miles. It's got to be square miles of potential rooftop space.
You know, I have a whole lot of numbers in front of me. We are a data-driven company. The estimate I have is the equivalent to 2.5 million passenger cars taken off the road each year, and the equivalent of 303 million tree seedlings grown over 10 years. That's a potential solar offset within the city of Houston. We're talking real incredible numbers.
Great, thank you. So, okay, so we lay out that groundwork. Then I have to ask, Charlene, can PACE be used to finance something like on-site solar?
Absolutely. In fact, the smallest project in Houston was solar for a hotel. And so this is exactly what we hope to achieve and hope to help make happen. People won't use PACE because it's there. They'll use PACE because they've chosen to do something really great for their company and their city, and we can provide a way to pay for it, where it will actually pay for itself. So,
Great,
yes.
thank you. Thanks. Because one of the questions that showed up in the chat was, what would motivate more rooftop solar installations on larger commercial buildings, big box stores, commercial parking garages? Well, I think we now have part of the answer, which is, okay, we know where this is from a citywide level. We know we can potentially finance it through PACE. And JB, I'm sure that you would have the opportunity to bring capital to situations like that as well.
I think we will be able to do the design, to do the installation, and to do the operation of the rooftop solar. Yes, so we do that already today on many rooftops, and definitely you see that here you have a panel with I would say the right level of expertise around financing, engineering, and data-driven capabilities. So yeah, indeed.
Oh, and somebody just popped in and asked, thank you, about the Environmental Insights Program. Do you offer it at a county level right now, or is it specifically focused on cities, Catherine?
You know, I wish I knew the answer to that. I know a little about a lot, but I can find out, or you can just log on yourself and try to Google Harris County. So like when you open up the screen for Environmental Insights Explored, you can literally type the city. So it's an interesting question I don't know the answer to.
Great. And one other one, since we've got folks in the Q&A modes, someone asked, are the living future / living building challenge standards being considered at all in Houston? Do any of the three of you have any insight on that? Okay.
I don't, but the Houston PACE program is designed to complement other programs that are out there. So someone designing a LEED building, the elements of that building that result in energy or water use reduction or creating power on site are going to fit beautifully with PACE. So there are other incentives. We work with utility companies because this financing will provide the rest of the funding for someone who might get a utility rebate. So all of these programs are out there, and our hope is to come up alongside them and allow property owners to take advantage of everything that's out there.
Thanks. Well, I have you, Charlene. So last time when we were preparing for this, we were talking about the fact that when you're driving through the city, you're seeing opportunities for efficiency improvements and pace like everywhere. But there's this idea of the perfect building. For you, what constitutes a real, solid dart right in the middle of the board of, oh, this is a building owner with a facility that should be considering pace as an option for making improvements?
So the original intention of the legislature, the highest and best use of this program, is to take an underutilized building and repurpose it to its highest and best use. So PACE could be used to replace doors, windows, insulation, roofs, lighting, old toilets that are flushing 5 gallons in a food processing plant or any other manufacturing facility. Tremendous water and power being wasted. So it has to be commercial, industrial, or multifamily. So think about apartments with at least 5 units. But the idea is we can make these businesses healthier, we can make these buildings healthier on the cost reduction side by replacing old equipment and bringing those buildings back to life. And when we do, we focus on clean energy jobs. So the PACE projects that have been done in Houston have created over 300 clean energy jobs, actually 357. But that doesn't take into account the permanent jobs that are created when an underutilized building or a vacant building is brought back to life. Huge economic benefits for the city. So in a technical sense, buildings that have single owners are easier to use. Buildings that don't have mortgages have an easier time using the program. But we want to work with everybody. And our biggest challenge is this is the greatest program few people have heard of, right? And so we just have to keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. The economic development opportunities in Houston are huge. There's no building that can't benefit from PACE, really. Every new building is going to get old, right? It's just a matter of time. And we'll see big companies, big box companies doing solar projects, spending their own capital. That's okay if they've got it and they want to do that. But they can use this program and keep their capital working on their core missions. But there are a lot of companies out there that don't have access to that capital, especially right now. And we can make things happen that need to happen and should happen. And we hope to do that for everybody.
So you create jobs, all that money essentially flows into the building in the form of electricity or gas, and a lot of that's wasted through inefficiency. So then you create the jobs to reduce the inefficiency, freeing up that wasted money, which then most of it sits right there and creates more employment and economic development right in the local communities through the multiplier effect, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's a huge part of what's going on, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And we can't wait to do more.
Someone asked, what's the volume of installed projects in terms of dollars investment and maybe megawatts for solar in PACE so far, and specifically, I mean, in Texas so far, and then in Houston? You mentioned before, I think Houston, but in Texas in general, do you have any numbers around that?
Yes, in Texas, we have facilitated $112 million in new energy and water efficiency investment. The program's only 4 years old. And half of that investment was last year alone. So last year, we really reached our tipping point. And in Texas, 2019, financing exceeded the first 3 years combined. And then COVID hit. We've still closed more projects this year than in the previous year. They're smaller, but the pipeline is picking up and it looks good, and we're set to go. In Houston, we've done 26.7 million total in 5 projects. We've avoided 6 tons of CO2 in Houston just with this little program, just with 5 projects so far. 24 million gallons of water are saved every year. So these are annual numbers. of almost 11 kilowatts of kilowatt hours avoided every year. 3.7 million BTUs avoided every year. And we haven't even touched the industrial community yet. So what this program can do for industrials, the combined heat and power equipment that would allow them to use their steam to create power on site. It's a no-brainer, but it's very expensive up front. So using somebody else's money to do that and staying cash flow positive sounds too good to be true. And that's why it takes several presentations for people to get it and to start to believe it. But the opportunities, especially with CHP in the industrial sector, this would also allow these companies much more control if they're creating power on site to power down in preparation for a storm, or to continue to power enough to keep flooding water away from sensitive electronics. There are just tremendous benefits to this. But the old analysis of these projects compared to the core business, they never meet the hurdle rate. They never get into the budget. And so we've got to unpack all that learned behavior, because PACE is a completely out-of-the-box financing mechanism. And it's not intuitive, and so we just have to keep educating and educating and educating.
Well, who can say no to using someone else's money if it's cash flow positive? JV, one question that popped up in the chat on the side, and you might have something to say about it as well, Charlene, is reflected light. So there's been a growing conversation over time in terms of dark skies, society, and light pollution, if you will. Does that, in the projects for either one of you, is that a criteria that often surfaces, or is it usually just not something that's taken into account? JB, do you have any thoughts on that?
I would say that when you think about a building optimization, you have more and more requirements from your users regarding light. But also, I will take a very simple example. It's indoor air quality. So today, we are faced with increasing requirement from users to get a more sustainable building, a more efficient building, a building that brings a natural light, that brings clean air. So yes, we are working on this initiative, and typically we are what we call agnostic, technology agnostic, meaning that we are partnering with startups, but also with large OEM, so equipment manufacturers. And really, our goal at ENGIE is to use the best and latest technology available on the market. So for indoor air quality, for example, we have one example. We are working with a startup in Pennsylvania that are doing initially air quality for in vitro environment. And we are using this technology to apply on some project with airports or with healthcare. Simply because of COVID, you see that we are using an existing technology for a very specific niche that we plan to expand this technology on the market. So really what we are trying to do is use the best technology available. We have a new venture fund based in San Francisco, and we are always interacting with them to find what are the best ideas for the future and for the users of buildings. So for example, maybe one example also, so in Ottawa, we signed a 35 years concession contract with the government of Canada, whereby we are upgrading their energy system, and we are moving from hot and steam to a low temperature energy system. So this is a new technology on the district heating and district cooling technology. You are using lower temperature to cool and to warm your building, and so that helps the environment, that brings new jobs opportunities, and that brings innovation. right now, this technology only started to be implemented in Canada and US, and we are looking forward to working on other projects. And a last example, more closely to us in Texas. So in Austin, we are working with Austin Energy. We help them with their latest district cooling plant, and we installed a modular solution on the convention center roof. And so here, the idea is to bring more capacity for the district cooling plant of Austin Energy, and to bring more efficiency, while given the lack of space in Austin, we put this solution on the rooftop of the convention center. So really, once again, some innovation, some interesting ideas, really to meet our customer and users goals.
Thank you. Catherine, in that analysis of the available space, did it also include the dead space, for example, of parking lots where you could put a canopy on top of it, or was it solely restricted to rooftops?
I'm pretty sure it's only restricted to rooftops. There are a lot of categories that had to have, 75% annual maximum sun, a lot of factors that went into it. But I actually do want to jump in. There's been so much talk about economic opportunity, and one of the things I mentioned earlier is Google has come to Houston for the exact reasons we're talking about on this panel. The opportunity that NG and PACE are bringing to the local community, investing in technology and innovation, is all over in every industry in the city of Houston. And so when we were deciding to come to Houston, it's sort of like a no-brainer of who wouldn't want to be in Houston. We've been in Texas for 13 years, like I mentioned, in Austin mostly. We've now expanded to Dallas and Houston. But it's that network, that fiber of everything that we're talking about here is the reason we're there. So keep an eye out for our cloud team. They're out and about. The office is going to be done at the end of the beginning of next year, hopefully. That's anticipated plan. Obviously, life's a little bit different, but there's so much dynamic opportunity here that we're thrilled to be a part of.
Well, it certainly makes sense for Google to be involved in the energy capital, which I dare say is working to become the new energy capital, if you will, and transform to new ways of thinking and dealing with the energy and carbon and pollution issues. I was fascinated by that September 14th announcement that lots of people, companies are offsetting their electricity usage on a one-for-one basis in terms of the whole bucket. But you all saying for every single hour, what we consume is going to be matched. That's a completely different challenge and a different game.
Well, actually, what we consume is already matched.
Yeah,
so we already have that infrastructure. Yeah. What we're transitioning to in the next 10 years is bringing it so that we operate on carbon-free energy
every single hour of the day. Yeah.
Every single hour of the day. And so that wouldn't be an offset. That's not a substitute. That is, we're going to work in third-party, similar to what our data centers do already, work in third-party organizations to identify energy sources that can fill every hour. Yeah. And again, it's a diversified energy source. I mean, an energy mix.
And Google was really early in the PPA space. I saw the white paper a couple of years ago articulating what you were trying to do. I think it creates a fantastic bow wave for everybody else, because they then see, oh, this is possible. And it gives, there's always the first actor that then creates the ability for courage in others, right? And so I think it's really interesting watching this occur, and I really look forward to seeing how that evolves, and then how many other people decide, oh, the water's fine, I'll jump into the pool as well. And then hopefully they'll be taking advantage of the tools and the financing that PACE makes available, and the skill sets and prodigious engineering capability that JB and NG bring to the table. So it's just fascinating watching this entire ecosystem evolve. We're just about out of time, but if I could just get from each one of you sort of a wrap-up sentence of how your organization looks at this climate action plan and hopes to be involved in the future. Since I've got you in the hot seat, Catherine, just a few words, a benediction, if you will.
Well, absolutely. I think everything you're mentioning is at the heart of what Google does, and it's being implemented in the city of Houston. as a great platform and opportunity for other cities to follow a similar path. Like you said, we create big visions, but then really the innovation and user focus tools to make it possible. So we will come with big goals, but then create ideas that can expand and other people can use and replicate around the world. So Houston is leading in many, many ways, of course, in this way, and we're thrilled to be a part of it, and we'll look forward to doing so as they continue.
Thank you. And JB, any final thoughts?
Yes, Peter, I would say that really at NG, what we want to do is to reconcile economic performance with a positive impact on people and planet. So that's the big motto. And obviously to achieve that, we cannot do this on our own. We have some capabilities, but we need to rely on experts like PACE, on experts like Google, to be able to work together. And I would say that collaboration is key, that's one. And the second point is how we can work together to change the behavior. And I think this Houston Climate Action Plan is this type of action that brings people awareness on this topic, and we need to speak about it, and that's what we are doing today. And I hope that we are successful, and we will be able to do more and more projects together.
Thank you. And Charlene, since you're the award winner, I've got to give you the last word.
Gee, thanks. No pressure. Okay, so the climate plan and all the work that so many people in Houston have put into that document created aspirations and expectations. And PACE is an opportunity, a financing opportunity to bring that to reality. So as people say, yes, we're going to do this, and we need to fix up our buildings, and it's just good business to do that, they put together these wonderful renovation plans, right? And then they go to put the capital stack together to pay for it. And they have two choices. They're either going to have to figure out how they're going to raise the extra money because it costs more to do it right, or they're going to do what we call value engineering and cut out all the stuff that people don't see, cut out all the efficiencies, and then basically they're condemning that building to higher operational costs from then on for the owners, the tenants, for everybody. PACE is a way to finally say, you can do it right in the beginning. You're going to pay for it one way or the other, but for the first time, there's a common sense way to pay for it the right way, and so that you can do it the right way and still meet the goals of your investors and your property owners. So it's just a tool, but we're very proud to be a part of this whole Houston Climate Action Plan. And frankly, from our experience, Houston has had this commitment. The plan puts it down in paper, but we've been a part of the larger Houston commitment well before that, and very proudly so. And we hope that owners of these properties will take advantage of this tool and learn more about it. And we're here to serve. And it's an honor to do that. And it's an honor to be here today. So thank you.
Well, thank you to all three of you. That plan is a huge commitment. It's an audacious commitment, and it's an absolutely necessary commitment. And it's great to have this kind of talent talking about how those commitments can actually be realized. A plan is nothing without the people and the actors behind it. And so those of you who are watching, I encourage you, and the call to action, first of all, is to go to greenhoustontx.gov. And second is get engaged. Once you learn about this, there's some fantastic opportunities to work with great people, maybe even make some money and leave a better planet for those who tread behind us. So thank you all so much, and I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.